It's tough being short. Any decent dirt bike has a lot of suspension travel, which means a high seat, which means trouble anytime you need to stop or touch the ground. Let's look at all the things you can do in terms of riding technique, bike setup, and bike choice. Riding technique. Develop good balance skills and you will rarely need to put a foot down. Practice riding very slowly, and even better, learn how to balance at a standstill. This trials technique is extremely useful for short riders in tough terrain. If you are really serious, get into trials riding too. It will transform your balancing skills on a dirt bike. Stand on the foot pegs more. Most dirt riders sit far too much. When you stand, you have much more control over the bike and less need to put a foot down. Practice your full lock turns regularly on smooth and rough ground without putting a foot down. Learn how to dismount instead of crash. Recognize when you will probably crash, then just pick and choose where and how to jump off the bike. When the terrain gets too rough, learn how to paddle with your legs, both standing and sitting on the bike. Finally, choose where to stop your bike. Shorter riders can park with the handlebars against a tree or stop next to a rock or log, which makes it easier to touch the ground. In some cases, these riding techniques may not be enough. If not, let's try setting up your bike to suit. We'll start with cheap do-it-yourself mods. Your seat. The easiest mod is your seat. You can trim the foam down a lot lower if you don't mind the weird look. Some riders drill big holes in the seat foam to make it softer, or just replace it with a much softer foam or gel inserts. Then your bike still looks the same, but you sink much further into the seat. If two people ride the same bike, just buy a second seat and keep swapping them over. Easy. Suspension. The easiest change here is to increase the rear suspension sag as much as possible. Then slide your forks up through the triple clamps to match. This does negatively affect your steering geometry and handling, but many novice to intermediate riders say they are very happy with this mod in combination with a lower seat. The next step is a lowering link for the rear suspension, and again adjusting the front forks to match. On some bikes you may actually need to fit bar risers so you can slide the forks through enough to match. The more you lower the rear end, the harder the first part of your rear suspension will usually be. As with adjusting your sag, these changes do alter the steering geometry of your bike. You won't know if you notice this and like it or hate it until you try it. A very important safety issue, make sure your tyres won't hit the underneath of your fenders and airbox when the suspension is bottomed out. The next step, going to a suspension shop and get it done properly. These guys know how to minimise the negative effects it will have on your bike's handling. Also, it's expensive, but they can make internal changes to your forks and rear shock so that you don't need to use a linkage or slide the forks through the triple clamps. If you do this at the same time as a regular suspension overhaul, it actually is quite a cheap modification. It often makes the bike easier to sell too. Plenty of short riders out there are looking for modified lower bikes. The rear subframe. Some short riders also modify the subframe, which lowers the seat at the rear but not at the front. This tends to be more of a motocross mod, as the seat is less likely to slam a short rider in the butt over whoops. But some enduro riders lower the subframe and like the results. Do it yourself if you are handy with tools, otherwise you can buy kits for certain bike models. Bars and foot pegs. These don't lower your bike of course, but can help you to feel more comfortable on the bike. You may be able to find some lower bend handlebars. and I couldn't find any examples, but apparently there are higher foot pegs available. Bike choice. Next time you buy a bike, remember an electric start makes dirt riding far easier if you are short, and riding in terrain where you will stall a lot. Even more importantly, look at the seat heights. In the serious enduro market, Beta is well known for being around an inch lower, although of course the ground clearance is slightly lower too. If you don't plan to ride too fast or aggressively, then hybrid bikes are well worth looking at. The Beta Cross Trainer is essentially a smaller, lighter enduro bike, proving to be very popular with short riders. Next is the Ktm Freeride. It's even lower again and about halfway to a trials bike. After that you have a range of bikes that are almost trials bikes, such as the Score for T-Ride, Sherco X-Ride and Ossa Explorer. If you don't need a high-tech, lightweight thoroughbred, there are various Japanese bikes too, like the Honda CRF 250. I won't go into those, just Google around for bikes with low seat heights. A final note, wear good armour and protective gear. Even with the best technique, best bike and best setup, short riders will probably crash more often, so get the good gear and ride safe.